Welcome to today's Explainer. If you're one of the countless candidates gearing up for the Federal Investigation Agency, or FIA exams, you already know the stakes are incredibly high. And right in the middle of it all is the Virtual University computer-based test, sitting there like a giant roadblock between you and your goal. But hey, don't sweat it. Today, we are going to completely demystify this whole process. We're breaking down actual source materials, practical guides, and literally real questions from recent test papers to give you the ultimate survival guide. Let's get into it.
So here is our roadmap for today. First, navigating the test interface. Second, global affairs and organizations. Third, Islamic Studies and history. And finally, science, math, and English.
Starting right off with Section 1, Navigating the Test Interface, Cracking the Virtual University CBT System. To make this super efficient, we're using a format and facts framework. Because honestly, you could have memorized every single fact in the world, but if you don't understand the CBT system, one simple technical mistake will ruin all that hard work. This interface is your battlefield. You have to know the rules of engagement. These right here are the absolute instant fail triggers that the supervisory staff strictly enforce. Obviously, no helping materials. But look at that second point. That is absolutely crucial. Do not leave the system idle for more than 15 minutes. If your mouse doesn't move or a key isn't pressed for 15 minutes, the test just auto-closes. Bam, you're done. Also, never minimize your browser or hit the back button because that can corrupt your session. And here's a pretty wild twist. You cannot use the computer's calculator app. However, you are allowed to open Word, Excel, or PowerPoint to do your rough work. Keep that in your back pocket. Okay, so during the exam, you'll see this summary panel of circles at the bottom of your screen mapping out your progress. You just need to master this really simple, color-coded mental model. If a circle is green, you're golden. It means you've attempted the question and saved your answer. But if a circle is purple, it means you flagged it. And you know what? Flagging is a real game changer. It lets you mark a question you're kind of unsure about so you can safely move on and easily find your way back to it before hitting that final submit button.
Moving right along to Section 2, Global Affairs and Organizations, the multiplier technique for general knowledge.
Shifting gears into the facts section of our explainer, we are now looking at actual questions pulled from recent tests. And here is the absolute secret to surviving the FIA exam. You have to use the multiplier technique. The examiners don't just want you to memorize an isolated answer, they are testing your grasp of entire topics. So if a question pops up on Tuesday, a different fact from that exact same topic will probably show up on Wednesday. Take this for example, 5. Just a single powerful number. This is the exact number of permanent veto-wielding members on the United Nations Security Council.
This brilliantly shows the multiplier technique in action. On one exam, they simply asked how many permanent members there are. The answer is 5. China, France, Russia, the UK, and the USA. But because the overarching topic is the UN Security Council, on the very next test, they might ask about the rest of the council. There are 15 total members. That means there are 10 non-permanent members who get elected for 2-year terms. And a highly testable fact to remember here is that Pakistan is currently among these non-permanent members. So don't just memorize one cell, master the whole concept.
This exact same logic applies to timelines for international organizations. The test heavily favors chronology. For instance, 1944 is a massive year because both the IMF and the World Bank were founded then, right after the Bretton Woods Conference. But when did Pakistan actually join them? That was 1950. The test also loves recent NATO expansions. If they ask who joined NATO on April 4, 2023, you say Finland. But don't stop there. The 32nd and newest member joining in 2024 is Sweden.
Continuing this rapid-fire breakdown, headquarters and leadership roles are practically guaranteed targets on this exam. The current UN Secretary General is Antonio Guterres from Portugal. The UN headquarters? Famously in New York, established in October 1945, currently sitting at 193 member states. Meanwhile, both the IMF and World Bank are headquartered in Washington, D.C., and NATO's operations are centered over in Brussels, Belgium. Lock these pairings into your memory for sure.
Let's dive into Section 3, Islamic Studies and History, Chronology and Key Figures.
When you analyze the Islamic Studies and history portions, a really clear pattern emerges. The exam loves chronological progression and historical milestones tied to specific figures. Take Sir Syed Ahmed Khan, for example, the pioneer of the two-nation theory. He is an absolute goldmine for examiners. They aren't just going to ask who he is. They'll ask you to trace his educational milestones. First, establishing a school in Moradabad. Then, crucially, establishing the MAO College in 1875. And finally, that college being elevated to university status in 1920. That is one historical figure. generating 3 totally different exam questions.
So, let's test your chronological reflexes for a second. When did the Treaty of Hudaybiyyah take place, and for how long was the truce meant to last? Take a second. Do you know it?
If you guessed 6 Hijri, you hit the nail on the head. And it was structured as a 10-year peace pact between the Muslims and the Quraysh. A couple of other highly tested milestones to note. The farewell sermon was delivered in Maidan-e-Arafat near Masjid Nimra. And, jumping over to the Quran, a very frequently repeating question asks which surah ends with a dua. The answer to that one is Surah al-Baqarah.
Let's keep this quiz rhythm going. Here is another highly specific trivia question pulled straight from recent exams. Which Iranian governor accepted Islam during the Prophet's, peace be upon him, lifetime?
The answer is Baden. Now, while historical facts are super prominent, it's really vital to understand that the examiners will seamlessly weave in current affairs to test your global awareness. We're seeing purely factual questions on recent geopolitical events, like identifying the Shajra-e-Tayyaba school incident in Iran. They also test candidates on specific diplomatic stances, impartially asking for the exact reason behind Pakistan's non-recognition of Israel, which the exam keys strictly to its stance on the Palestine issue. It's a great reminder that your prep really needs to bridge ancient history with today's headlines.
Which brings us to Section 4, Science, Math, and English, solving the tricky remnants.
Even though the FIA test doesn't always hand you a strictly isolated science or math syllabus, these subjects absolutely sneak into the exam, and honestly, they often act as the tiebreakers between passing and failing. Let's walk through an exact math word problem from the test so the logic clicks. The question states, a number is doubled and increased by 9, and the result is 45. What is the number? Don't panic, just map it out step by step. Step 1, the unknown is x. Step 2, double it, so 2x. Step 3, increase by 9, giving us the equation 2x plus 9. Step 4, set it equal to 45. When we solve for x by subtracting 9 to get 36, and then dividing by 2, we find our answer. The number is 18. And hey, this is where opening up that allowed Excel or Word file as scratch paper comes in incredibly handy.
Let's wrap up this section with a massive download of disparate facts you really need to have in your back pocket. Over in English, the antonym of ephemeral, which means fleeting, is permanent, and a speaker of many languages is known as a polyglot. In general science, the standard unit of pressure is the Pascal, and the red planet is, of course, Mars. Throwing in just a few more historical remnants, the last Maratha king was Baji Rao II, and a major 1939 event in the subcontinent was when the Congress ministries resigned. Every single one of these was a full mark on a recent paper.
So what does this all mean? The crucial point we want to leave you with today is this. The FIA Virtual University exam is totally dynamic. It twists and turns every single day. So ask yourself, are you just memorizing answers or are you truly mastering the underlying topics? Because as we've explored today, topic mastery, combined with a flawless understanding of that CBT software, is your only true survival tool. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we really hope this guide brings you one step closer to acing your exam. Keep studying smart, and we'll catch you next time.